And then but when you look at where a lot of the ideas that are currently being used in the sovereign citizenship movement as it relates to the black nationalist or the black power area, those ideas were rooted in the 40s, 50s, and 60s amongst white people who were mad at the growing social power of black people and wanted to make the case that there was no possible way, because of the 14th Amendment, that black people could be citizens.
What's going on, family? I'm just here to remind you that you can get yourself a copy of my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4, The Caribbean, by visiting my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, and help support me as I continue on my mission to make sure that my people have our information, even though, there are many people trying to stop us from learning our history. But hey, we can teach ourselves, and one of the tools we can use is my new book, On the Shoulders of Giants, Volume 4, The Caribbean. Remember, visit my website, www.ontheshoulders1.com, to get your copy, and I appreciate your support.
Bam, what's going on, people? We are back. You already know what it is. Breakdown Friday. When you see me, when you see Pat, to put your thinking cap on, because we're taking the information that our master teachers have given us. We're examining it, we're understanding it, we're breaking it down, and then we are realizing how we can use this information, putting it into practical sense so we can actually move forward on the information. Our master teachers have done a great job of finding this information, presenting this information. The least we can do is use the information to change our situation. That's how we do it. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin. Thank y'all once again for coming back. We appreciate all the love, all the support, all the comments. Remember to like this video. Liking is one of the most important metrics on YouTube. So please like the video, please share, please comment, please subscribe. Tell a friend about On the Shoulders of Giants. We're here. You see the website scrolling at the bottom of the page or the screen, so you can check us out on the website. Got a lot of good stuff on there. And there's my dog Pat book. It's the homie Pat book, The Chasm. So Pat, tell them about your book.
The book is The Chasm. You can find it on Amazon. Type in Patrick Irvin, The Chasm, and it'll come up, look like that. It's a book detailing some of the histories that have impacted the relationship that black men and women have towards each other, and ways that we can close the divide before it becomes even larger than it is currently growing to be.
Yep. Do that. Everything he just said, do that. Let's support. So we here, we ready to get in. I had to get my stretch on. We got Dr. Clarke. And this is one of my favorite clips from Dr. Clarke. Focusing on our relationship with the world, with the other people of the world, and our lack of production for ourselves, and where it has left us being dependent upon the same people who have enslaved and oppressed us. And I like this because Dr. Clarke getting on us, and we need to be got on. But we need to take this information not to just be in the cheering section, because we don't want to just be cheerleaders for this. We want to take this information and think about it, really understand this information and see what he's saying, understand what he's saying, so we can use this information. So without further ado, let's let Dr. Clarke do what he do.
Here when I can be more fully in depth on this subject, because there's a whole lot of illusions about Africa's relationship with other people in the world. There's a whole lot of illusion about our relationship to the religions in the world. And these belief systems that had its origin in Africa, all of them, and there is no exception, turned on African people. I said there is no exception. And there's one thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And I said,
yeah, stop right there. So
it's a good place.
The relationship, huh?
I said that's a good place to stop.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta stop at the first word. But African people's relationship with the rest of the world. we right now we are not in a position in any position to dictate anything on our behalf because we don't have any infrastructure in place, any power in place, any system in place, any congruency in place. We have ideas, we have shells of things that may have existed, or um, just even momentum and and energy and maybe resources that were going to things that could have existed. But our relationship with other people in the world is a relationship of we need other people in the world as of right now because this is the position that we have ourselves in because we're not doing what we need to do as a whole to self-actualize, to be an autonomous group of people, to be a truly independent group of people, to be able to sustain ourselves. And so it's almost like we're in a position to where we have to be buddy buddy and we have to try to assimilate even with other groups of people, especially the dominant groups of people here in America for our own survival because we refuse to do it for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I no like this. That's a dense piece because when you think about what he's saying, one of the things that we commonly hear repeated and projected and presented and all of these other things, especially in pro-black circles, is that there is some system in place somewhere that has managed to go through time and history without being influenced by white people that we can access here and utilize. And religion is frequently one of those things. And this goes back to one of the things we talked about last time we did a breakdown. Um, the misnomers and the myths and the confusions surrounding spirituality, surrounding African traditional religious systems and spiritual systems, and surrounding some of the meshes of spiritual systems here in the United States. This idea that we can take what is African and remove what is European and strictly stick to what is African is something that I don't think a lot of people think about. And it's something that I don't see. Then we get into a whole different conversation about whether or not that's even possible. But it all goes into what he's saying with regards to um every system that has been put in place that we're aware of today, with no exception, has been used against black
African
people.
people, right, to
Right,
dominate.
right. And then when you add in his other statement of there is nothing that has come from a European mind that is meant to do anything but
But dominate.
facilitate European domination. And see,
There's no exception.
here's the rub, right? European domination and African subjugation oftentimes are very similar, but they're not always the same thing. And this goes into understanding the motives and the dynamics of your enemy. Sometimes when you're in a battle with people with multiple enemies, you got to
Yeah.
figure out how to strategically maneuver around the plans and things that they've laid out. And it's hard to do that if you don't fully understand the intentions of the person that's, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that goes back to what I'm saying is our relationship with other people in the world, in my opinion, because especially us on this side of the slave trade, not necessarily pre-colonial slave trade, but post-colonial slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, because we continue to view, and we have no choice, but we looking through the lens of conquered people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost as if, okay, well, we need these specific relationships to be able to strengthen ourselves. And one thing we keep realizing with these relationships is whether the relationship is built through commerce, through religion, through war, through anything else, is conquest is not gonna stop.
Mm-hmm.
Conquest is a reality. Conquest is a historical reality of what really happens when a group of people find themselves faced with what they deem as a weaker group of people. And because, once again, like I said earlier, because we have never, especially us in the West, no real self-actualization, no real infrastructure in place, there's no real Black African anything for us. We have small factions of it, but it's no real infrastructure in place. So we are continuing to look at other people as, with our hands out and looking up, hey, we need help, we need help, we need help, rather than realizing that it's enough of us to do what we need to do for us. We just got to want to do it as a whole. And also, on the religion point, it's they take they studied us and they was able to take advantage of how we relate with religion and how we see the
Mm-hmm.
world through religion, and how religious we are, and how important, or how strong belief is within the systems that we adopt, whether it's an
Mm-hmm.
African system or it's a Western system or Judeo-Christian system. Like Dr. Clarke even said this, like we out religious everybody in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but we do that to our own detriment, because he's saying we're taking these bastardized versions of these religions or these spiritual systems that came out of Africa. We taking these bastardized versions, and we are just wholeheartedly, blindly believing in these things. And that's why, like, he coupled with the Europeans didn't give us anything to help us uplift ourselves. They're not going to give us religion to help us uplift ourselves. They're going to give us a religion that's going to be a tool in their toolkit to help them dominate and continue to stay dominant.
And that builds into the conversation we had about culture, and like I said earlier, the conversation we had about religion. Like, one of the things, and you say this all the time, and I agree with it. Life is struggle, right? And
Yep.
even if it's not a physical conflict, you got to think about the cultural wars that are going on right now. You think South Koreans aren't aware of the impact and the influence that K-pop is having all over the world? That has become their number one export, their culture. And
Yeah.
look at the impact that that's having on even Black kids here in America, that
Yeah.
are in love with K-pop bands, in love with Asian culture. We're seeing the spread of
The
anime,
anime. Yeah.
right? Which is Japanese culture. Like, anytime two groups of people come into contact with each other,
You're gonna influence each other.
even if it's peaceful,
You're gonna
right?
influence each other.
There's going to be a struggle. There's going to be influence. There's going to be an exchange, and we have to be able to objectively and honestly look at that. And that's where it goes back into the point that I was saying, because I agree with you. The lens that we look at the world through is that of a former slave that was only knows oppression and being conquered. We can talk about the history all we want. Yes, we know the history is there.
Mhm.
We haven't experienced that.
Right.
What we've experienced is this. So
Yep.
we look at the world through this lens, and I don't think people pay enough attention. And this is one of the things I love about Dr. Wilson and Dr. Clarke, is they spend a lot of time talking about the lens that things are viewed through. And to put it into another perspective, even those of us that are doing a tremendous amount of research on Black history, Black scholars, Black this, Black that, Black this, Black that, most of us are doing that research through Google. The information we have access to is controlled by what Google allows us to see. That's the frame that I like to use when I start talking about lenses. Where are you getting your information? How do you have access to that information? And what is the full spectrum of availability in terms of perspectives? That's that lens piece, and we got to really begin to take that seriously. So I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Nah, but what that's real though. We do have to really take a look at how we view the world and why we view the world through that particular lens. And okay, is this lens, is this worldview of ours actually helping us?
Mm-hmm.
And if we need to change this worldview, how do we change this worldview, and what do we change it to? So yeah. So, but let's let Dr. Clarke keep going.
There's no exception.
No exception.
No exception.
Everything that was brought into this continent, everything, every idea, every so-called religion was meant to dominate and to control. The Arabs had no illusions about it. The Europeans had no illusions about it. You were the ones with the illusions. And yet every element that went into the making of every major religion in the world started in Africa. Why is it that you are so naive? You let people redress something that you invented, sell it back to you, and enslave you through it.
Well, and not to, for me, not to necessarily harp on religion, because I want us to look at religion as the tool.
Mm-hmm.
The religion was the tool to ultimately gain what? And I think that's how we need to be thinking about this, because he's laying it out beautifully. But what was the ultimate goal? Why was it so important for Black people in America to become Christian? So from my understanding, from my information, it's to be able to better control us, to make us docile, to lessen the revolt of the people. Now, I didn't totally do that, but we can see how Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all these religious paths or spiritual systems that Black people have adopted here in the West, at one point in time in history, or at times in history rather, we've had individuals or groups who, even though they had a religious view, they were still able to spark revolution, still able to revolt, still able to not see or not go through the lens of we need to be peaceful, we all need to hug, we need forgiveness, we need to be, no docile nature, right? But look at us now, because it's like something we used to always talk about. Our generation, we talk so much junk. We talk so much junk, you know, going back to that. We're not our ancestors. We'll put these hands on you. No, we won't. What Dr. Clarke is explaining in his lecture that happened maybe over 30 years ago is still true to this day, because religion has been used to make Black people docile. All Black people's biggest weapon is talking junk. The world knows it. We think it's powerful, but everybody else, they like, you have no real power. You have no real power, because we've been made docile through a lot of the systems they have given us. You got to admit that religion is one of the systems that have used to make us docile. And it was to make us docile to maintain power and control over the group of people that you just conquered. Think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's been laid out in numerous books, numerous lectures, numerous case studies, how religion has been used to control the masses. You know, the
Yeah.
opiate of the masses. And this is going back all through history. And one of the things we got to understand is every cultural system is about controlling acceptable behavior. We just have to make sure that the cultural systems that we are abiding by are those that have our best interest at heart.
That we created.
Right, that we created, that have our best interest at their core purpose. So it's not, I don't want people, because here's the thing, right? And this goes back to what I was saying earlier. This idea that just because something was created in Africa by Africans, that that it somehow can't be used to hurt us. And that's what I was trying to get at, but I didn't want to cut off the lecture. But he just said it there. But it's one of those things where you hear people saying, you'll hear people talking about we'll even use things outside of religion. We'll talk about the sovereign citizen movement. You hear people talking about the sovereign citizen movement, a movement that has gained a tremendous amount of steam over the last 20, 30 years. You hear a lot of the people, the Hebrews, the Moors, all of them talking about this. You just got to you got to understand the legal documents and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And then but when you look at where a lot of the ideas that are currently being used in the sovereign citizenship movement as it relates to the black nationalist or the black power area, those ideas were rooted in the 40s, 50s, and 60s amongst white people who were mad at the growing social power of black people and wanted to make the case that there was no possible way, because of the 14th Amendment, that black people could be citizens. So the rules and regulations that black people are now spouting as groundwork that can allow them to gain some level of freedom are in fact rules that were created by people that were saying that black people could never use these rules because of the 14th Amendment. Now, never mind the fact that none of the stuff is legitimate. I'm going to say that. And if you got a beef with it, that's whatever it is, what it is. None of the stuff is real. None of the stuff is legitimate. A lot of people done tried that sovereign citizenship stuff and they sitting in a jail cell right now. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead.
Well, at the end of the day, how many times have we said this? Sovereignty has to be recognized
Yeah.
and respected. You
Right.
what do you how much ass can you kick? Because if you can't kick nobody ass, nobody gonna respect you calling yourself sovereign. Because guess what? I got an army. I can kick ass. I could just come take your stuff. That's how the world works. You could be sovereign all you want to. Say it. You can say it, scream it. But can you protect your sovereignty? If you can't protect your sovereignty, you just talking. And
Well,
if a larger nation want you and your stuff, they can come take it because you can't protect yourself.
Well, we see an example of that right now. Ukraine was a recognized sovereign nation.
Yep.
Look what Russia did.
Yeah.
And here's the key part of that. This is something that I think needs to flip. Everything needs to be flipped over. Here's the issue with the sovereignty movement, with respect, with a lot of the things we have. Those are things that are recognized by others. They're not things that you can claim and demand. You can claim and demand all you want. If somebody chooses not to respect your claims or demands and runs up on you, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And here's the thing, right? Even if you can put that person down, put that country down in the case of nations, it's still something that the other nations have to make a decision not to do, because they could keep running up on you and getting hands put on them. They could make that decision. Respect is not something that's claimed, it's something that's given by other people. You can do things to make yourself more respectable, but at the end of the day, if I choose not to respect you, there's nothing you can do to get that from me. And it's the same with sovereignty. At the end of the day, you could claim to be sovereign, but if other people don't recognize your sovereignty, it doesn't matter. And it's the same thing with power and with all of these other things. So when we're looking at, because a big part of our culture, based on our spiritual beliefs nowadays, is claim it. You can claim all you want. If other
That's not
people
the real
don't
world.
respect that claim, it means nothing. And I think a big part of understanding that worldview is, again, this lens piece, being able to see the world, like you said, being able to see the real world for what it is.
Right. But I also think, going back to religion, though, that's another thing that religion has done to harm us, because it's given us cloudy vision, because we see the world through hopes and dreams, through the lens of ideas, hopes, and dreams. This is what it should be. I hope it's this. I want it to be this. Well, it's ideal for it to be this. But in all actuality, we have not done the proper work to make these things a reality for us. It's on us to do it. All we have to do is choose. Like we said in the past, start in your community, start in your city. Just work together, organize, work together. The power is going to grow eventually. And we have to move in silence. We have to move in silence. We are behind enemy lines. So we can't be out here organizing and building power and telling everybody you're going to get shut down.
Well, and real quick, one thing I'll say, because I do agree. I think one of the things that we have got to do is, I just forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it! This is why I write shit down.
It's all good. It's all good.
I just what because I was listening to you. What were you saying?
Basically, like religion has given us a cloudy view of the world.
Yeah, religion is given. Oh, that's right. That's what it was. Because I was listening to you, and then I started thinking, and then I started listening again, and I forgot what I was thinking about. I got it. All right. 3, 2,
2-1.
1. That's for the editing, so you can see the 3 blips. That's what you do. Anyways, so but I think one of the things is that we have to recognize is, again, we go back to the lens, right? Religion gives us a cloudy lens. Religion was given to us, right? We still have the lens of slaves.
Yeah.
We still talk in terms of hopes and dreams. Cedric the Entertainer had a skit years ago. You know, everybody my age remember it. Black people live by the wish factor.
I wish a mother would.
Right. And we always talking about our hope, I wish, I dream, I got aspirations, I got goals, I got this,
Manifestation.
I got that. Right. Everything is geared towards some future heaven. And religion is in that as well. A prime tenet of most major denominations of Christianity is you suffer on earth so that you can enjoy heaven in the next life. We got to really think about what that means to actually live that philosophy.
Yeah, suffer on earth,
right,
and everything will be good when you die.
To think that your greatest days are in front of you because it can't get any worse than it is right now, and to just accept that.
I say this: the conquered believe that the conquerors don't, because the conquerors are living their greatness and experiencing their abundance and all that now while they're alive. So you can put, that's an easy way to put that to bed. Conquered people believe that, conquerors don't. Yeah, back to Dr. Clarke though. Yeah.
I'm saying that all organized peasant religions are male chauvinist murder cults. And I say there is no exception. Why I wanted to be here earlier, I wanted to deal with our relationship with the people of the world and the fact that we created peaceful nations that had no word for jail because no one had ever gone to one. No word for old people's home because no one ever threw away grandma and grandpa. No word for orphanage. We did all of this, and over half of human civilization was over before we knew that a European was in the world. Before he wore a shoe or lived in a house that had a window. Now, Africa has always and still is the prize for the whole world. We as a people have always been the world's richest people, culturally rich, mineral rich. We have always been the prize because we have always had and still have something that other people won't, think they can't do without, and don't care to pay for.
I mean, there it is. There it is. So I like how he was articulating that, because we're looking at the effects of of religion. We're looking at the effects of being conquered, but he's also taking it back and saying, hey, okay, before the Europeans showed up, this is what it looked like for African people to be organized. So my immediate thought with that is, okay, how can we use that information today in 2022? Because he's saying now, I can't confirm or deny if because I don't have the information when he was saying there's no word for jail or orphanage. I'm not going to get into that because I don't have information to confirm or deny. But what I am getting from that is he's telling us that it really trying to take us back. Hey, before our minds were colonized, this is what we did. So we should take the further step is, okay, let's explore how African people existed. Let's take the elements from that we can use and apply them to today. But we're gonna have to do some tweaking, but apply them to today to be able to get back to gain the organization that we used to have. Because to me, that's one of the most important, powerful points of what he's saying is this is how we are today. We don't really understand organization. We don't really understand working together. Nowadays we don't. I would say, in the past they did a better job, but nowadays we don't. If you're born in like the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, we don't know nothing about that. We don't know nothing about that. But we're adults now. So how can we do something different? So at one point in time, African people were able to work together. White people showed up. Now African people don't know how to work together. So we need to go back and study what we used to do to work together. Even here in America, we have times in America where Black people work together. Now we're not working together. So what was important about that? But one thing that we do know is the way we related to each other, the way we thought about family, the way we thought about community, the way we identified with ourselves and each other. We don't do that no more. Our value on family is trash. Our value on individual self-esteem is trash. Our value on collective self-esteem is hot trash. Our ability to organize and unite is hot trash. Because people been saying that my whole life. We can't get along. We can't get along. We can't get along. Well, damn it, let's stop saying it and fix it. How do we get along? How do we get along? What do we need to do to get along? I do know we need to start valuing ourselves more. That's going to help us be able to get along.
I think one of the problems we have, again, we go back to lenses and culture, right? One of the biggest problems I see with Black people's ability to work together is the mantra, mind your own business.
Yeah.
Because when I hear Dr. Clarke talking, I hear him talking about community groups that got along.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the entire continent of Africa.
Right. But groups of people who got along.
Groups of people who got along locally. And maybe they had good relationships with the neighbors in their local vicinity. Now, because again, we know, and the only reason I'm saying that is because there are, without doubt, always some people out there that'll be like, Africa was one united place called Akebulan.
Prove it.
No.
Prove it.
But when I hear people like Dr. Clarke talking about our ability to get along and to be culturally cohesive, he's talking about in a communal space, our ability to not have people in our own community filming problems in our community and putting them on World Star.
Yeah.
Our ability to not encourage websites and articles and social media posts that show the worst of us for clout, especially those that weren't even started by Black people born here in America.
Right.
So I hear that. And when I think about us being able to do that, I begin to think about, like, one of the things, like, so when I was growing up in the hood, everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody,
same idea.
mama and daddy, everybody knew everybody, and you could get it from anybody. Like it was
It was
at the tail,
accountability.
yeah, it was at the tail end of that, but it was there. Nowadays, people don't want nobody but them talking to their kids. People don't want nobody in their business. People don't, it's hard for a community to develop and get along when you don't want nobody in your business. When you don't want nobody involved in what you got. You know why there aren't a crazy amount of robberies and burglaries happening in say the old white people community? Because everybody know they sitting out on their porch looking. And if you do
And
some wrong shit, they gonna call somebody.
and everybody know everybody. Everybody respect everybody. Like there, look, we've even said it before. There are black communities here in America that the stuff people do in the hood, you can't go in these black communities, some of these black communities, and do that. Now, I'm not saying that these communities are guess the groups of people that are actually totally working together that we need, but they have a better sense of community. Because
Right.
you can't come into their community and degrade their community.
But that goes exactly into what I'm saying. How am I supposed to work with you and grow with you and build with you when you don't want me in your business? This is essentially what I'm saying. Your business is my business.
And my business is your business.
And right, my business is your business. Because if I'm doing a shitty job raising my kids, that's not just me that's got to pay for that. You got to pay for that.
Especially when the
Everybody in the
neighborhood.
community got to pay for that, right? When you don't give a damn about the block and drop your trash on the ground, that's not just, oh well, it ain't hurting nobody. No, it's lowering the property values, which is sucking wealth out of the community. It's affecting everybody. We got to start thinking about it like that and holding people accountable for things that we are now currently saying is not my business. If the dude, if the couple next door to you or in the next apartment over keep getting in fights and banging each other's heads into the wall, that's your business. Especially if you got kids that are growing up in the house with you listening to that.
We got to come together and help. But it's like Shahrazad Ali said, we're getting paid, but she was specifically talking about women, but it's the black community. We're getting paid, and it's horrible behavior is being incentivized by those other groups of people who don't have our best interest.
Right.
We're going to pay you to be destructive.
They want to see it. They pay to see it.
And then the excuse is, well, hey, I got to make it. Because people will say, well, I'm just happy they making money. Well, shit, all money ain't good money.
Right.
Especially if it leads to the destruction of our community.
Great example of this. That, well, she lost her endorsement, but the Instagram lady that took the picture with her booty and her cooter out in the fishnets.
Yeah.
I wonder how she got that platform. Like I'm saying, in terms of like, and I'm not casting anything. I'm literally thinking, I wonder if that was a part of what she was doing initially to grow that platform. Was putting herself out on Front Street. Because we do know social media, YouTube, a lot. Look, I love RDC World to death. But some of their most popular videos are showcasing the ignorance of the black community. Now they're doing it in comedic form.
But still,
hey, right?
Hey, if I make you laugh and punch you in your face, you still got punched in the face.
Right. And now I do think a lot of what they're doing is trying to get black people, trying to draw black people's attention to it, like kind of like what Boondocks did, right? I'm gonna show you the ignorance in a way to make you think about it.
Right.
But here's the thing with that, it's the same as with Boondocks. While that might be the intention, black people aren't receiving it that way.
Because there's no explanation and breakdown and understanding of it. You just leaving people to their own interpretations. And hey, we see how that goes because nothing has come from it. The same thing with this information that our master teachers is giving us. We haven't done a good job of understanding the information. Because if so, once again, things would be different. So yeah. But yeah, back to Dr. Clarke though.
Because we have always been the prize. We have been under siege for over 3,000 years. Nothing that ever brought into Africa from the outside was meant to do the Africans any good. That means all other religions. Islam was the handmaiden of Arab imperialism. Christianity was the handmaiden of European imperialism. The Hebrew faith was the handmaiden of a concept called the chosen people. Now, if God is kind and God is merciful and God has no stepchildren, he won't choose one over the other. And to say he chose some people, you're making him a bigot. And to say that he endorsed enslavement of one people over the other, you're making him an accessory to murder.
Yeah, just real quick on that. It's so because that's a belief that a lot of Black people have accepted, that the God that they believe in has a specific chosen people. And at one point, you were not a part of this chosen group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, we do have people trying to say that Black people in America are Hebrew Israelites. I'm not getting into that. Okay. But it's like, we have this information. We believe these things. We believe these things, but nothing is coming from the belief. Like nothing at all is coming from the belief. It's the belief is just helping us be more docile, be more conquered, be more of the people who are just going to continue to be on the lower rung. Like you said, another tool, just another tool used to keep us in that subservient place, just another tool used to make us just not even try to fight back, because we don't even try to really fight back nowadays. Because I'm relating this to now. Like all these religions. All right, we have these religions, but what else do we believe in nowadays? What are the other things that dominate our belief? Social media. Social media is the new god of these days, and the influencers are the demigods. And so now we are, not only are our minds warped from all of these 400-500 years, and then they dump this religion on us, but now you have all these other components and things that we believe in today that don't serve us, all the things that we indulge in, all the things that we idolize that don't serve us. Once again, we continue to give our time, energy, attention, and resources to things that don't serve us. But the things that do serve us, we cringe when we have to do those things. The people who serve us, we don't want to listen to them. We prop up and we believe in people who are paid to give us bullshit. Because that's what I was thinking when I was listening to it. Yes, these religions have been constructed to make us believe in something that's really not going to happen for us. But making it relevant to today, on top of the religions, what else are we believing in? What else runs our ideologies? What else is driving us? Because think about how we exist. Think about how we look, how we walk, how we talk. It's like everybody's on autopilot. Like you have to fit these specific archetypes and just turn your brain off and just go and just let the belief blindly guide you. And it's not serving us.
Yeah, I would say another thing that I took away from that section right there was when he says nothing that the European ever sent into Africa was meant to serve the Africans. And I would say that includes Black people in America, Black Americans.
Explain.
Well, over the years, there have been a number of Black Americans that were sent into Africa, and there have been a number of those who have voluntarily gone to Africa. And from the experiences that I've had, the people that I've talked to, both those on the continent and those that travel to the continent, and those that are here and those that came back. When Black Americans go to Africa, they go to Africa with a superiority complex. This idea that they're gonna fix Africa.
Yeah.
Um, and they go over there with that in mind. Either they're gonna fix it or they're going to accumulate and acquire wealth that they could not accumulate and acquire here in America. Meaning they're going over there to basically do the same thing that we accuse white people of going over there to do.
Missionary style.
Right. Robbing and pillaging. And this goes back to the lens and the perspective again. When we have these conversations about coming together and working with people on the continent, a lot of the times I sit back and think and really pay attention to what's being said in these conversations, because I'm in these conversations a lot. Well, I'm listening to people talk a lot. And a lot of the times when you boil it down, they feel like, a lot of them feel like they have the answer to what's going on over there, and they're going to go over there and fix it. That's not serving the Africans over there. That's exploiting whatever country, whichever one of the 50 plus countries you choose to go to. So in that, I say, we're taking our Europeanized brains, and I don't care how black, whatever you think you are. If you grew up in America, your
Brandon.
brain has
Yeah.
been Europeanized.
Yeah.
You can undo some of it, but at its core, it's still there. You're taking that mentality, and in a lot of cases, it's unchecked. I'm not saying all because I don't know all, but I can say a lot because I've heard a lot. In a lot of cases, it's unchecked. You're going over there and you're bringing problems to them, and creating additional stresses to the ones that they already have. So that's why I say that extends to Black people in America nowadays. And that's not just going to Africa, that's going anywhere. Because I
And
hear Black people
yeah.
talking about going everywhere to try to create a better life for themselves in that location. And when you boil it down, it's almost always at the expense of the natives of that place.
Well, yeah, but I would question any Black American that goes into any other space anywhere talking about fixing that space when you can't fix the space that you're in. That's disingenuous. How the hell are you gonna help me when you can't help you? What have you fixed in your homeland? What have you fixed in your town, in your city? How autonomous are you really? So how you going? So remind me how you gonna help me if you can't help you? Because we got to get our heads out of our asses. We got to be. I'm a very realistic person. I'm a very, very, very realistic person, and that's how we, in my opinion, that's how we should approach this. We shouldn't approach this with no fantasies and stuff. If I can't help me, then damn it, I can't help you. But Black Americans, we have to fix home first. This is where we are. Our lineage and everything is here in America. This is our spot. We have to fix this first before we can talk about helping anybody else. Just want to say that. Let Dr. Clarke go.
The Arabs used Islam to rationalize their slavery and their imperialism. The Europeans used Christianity to rationalize their slavery and imperialism. Who are you kidding about friends in the world? Damn it, if you want a friend, look in the mirror.
That's my favorite part. You know, that's my favorite part of this. Like, when the very first time I seen like this whole lecture, oh, that's my favorite part. But because it's so real, like we don't need anybody else to help us fix our situations, for us to do what we need to do for us. We don't need anybody else. It's enough of us in this world. There's enough of us in this country. We're not ready. We're not ready for the world scale yet. But it's enough of us in this country. Look in the mirror. Nobody, there's, it kind of, I don't. We talk about black and brown and BIPOC and all these other groups, and they just basically they started lumping anybody who's not a white male or considered a Karen. They lump you in the same group because you all are against oppression. No, we know. How have these other groups of people helped us? How? Like tangibly, tangibly. We ain't talking about they expressed help, they express support, or they hang around you and they cool and they can dance and stuff. No, how have any of these other groups of people tangibly helped us? There's no real black and brown relations. There's no black and Asian relations. There's no black and relations with no other. Hell, there ain't no black on black relations. How the hell you gonna have black relations with other people? And the black relations with other black people is shitty.
What that goes into what I was saying. Because I love what he says, but
Yeah,
bringing it forward to nowadays, if you want a friend, you can't even look in the mirror. Because honestly, black people aren't friends to each other.
we
Not
aren't
real,
friendly to each other. We're
not
not.
not not for real, because like that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, right? About building community, caring. Lis- look, look, we talk about this all the time. How many of us have an overweight friend that we will tell is overweight and stay on their ass until they get healthy? That's a friend. And the reason I bring that up is because 60-70% of the black community is
It's overweight.
obese,
Yeah,
overweight, right? So, so how many of us will see somebody doing something they shouldn't do and try to stop them, wearing something they shouldn't wear, behaving in a way that they shouldn't be behaving, and try to stop them? How many of us will have a friend that's getting ready to quit their job to go pursue their dream, and you ask them about the plan and they don't really have one? How many of us will be like that? Look, that's not a good idea. I
yeah.
can't support you in that. Now, if you want to come together and we could build a plan, let's do that. But I can't support you quitting your job on a hope and a dream, stepping out on faith. I can't. So, how many of us are willing to do that?
But this whole unity between the different groups of people and diversity and inclusion, this not real. It's not real. It's only existing on superficial levels. Okay,
Mhm.
you all can exist in the same space. You can tolerate each other in the same space.
Tolerate. Good word.
Race is a competition. Race
No,
is a
it's not,
competition.
Joe. It's a social construct.
Okay. All right. It's a social construct that has had a group of people from a continent oppressed for over 500 years. Social construct my ass. Right. But it's just, it's, we have to get it. We have to, in my opinion, get the idea of working with any other group of people out of your mind, because you can't even work with yourselves. Our energy should be pouring into black people having better and healthy relations with black people. That's where our energy need to be going. Building black. Take this shit off of social media. Take it off of social media. Take it away from these things and get back to actually really relating to people. Just start with getting to know the people in your neighborhood. Just start there. Just start to get to know the people in your neighborhood. Y'all start hanging out. Y'all start building. Y'all start doing things. Hey, get together. What kind of skills does everybody in the neighborhood have? How can we put these skills together to make our neighborhood better? How can we claim our neighborhood? How can we control our neighborhood? How can, because that's gonna lead to you controlling your side of town. Now you got some power. Now you can put people in place. Now when you vote and you got voting power, you now people gonna have to listen to you.
You know, but that's going to require us to stop being scared of our children,
Yep.
stop being scared of other people's children. And look, here's the thing, right? A lot of black people have the same implicit bias issues that white people
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we got to start with. We got to do away with that. We've got to be able, if nobody else can, we should be able to look at each other and not be afraid and not automatically think the worst. And I'll
Yeah.
be honest, it took me a while,
Yeah. Me too.
a
Me too.
long while, But I can honestly and confidently say now I'm at a point in my life where I will see a group of brothers walking down the street, a group of teenagers that everybody else is crossing the street from, and not think anything bad about them. Now that
Welcome,
don't mean that I'm walking in blind and leaving myself open for
but
bad
still,
things to happen,
I'm
but
not going.
I'm not projecting
Yeah,
any sort of negativity onto those brothers.
right.
And I frequently stop nowadays if I ain't got nowhere else to be. Well, back when I used to go outside, because I don't go outside much because of COVID and monkeypox and all that. But anyways, back when I used to go outside, I used to stop and talk to these brothers, and you'll be amazed to hear these dudes that look like, according to social perceptions, they'll shoot you in the face for smiling at them, having real conversations, and being able to articulate real views about the world.
Right. But let a white man in a suit walk right by you and you just watched a whole bunch of gangster movies. Never mind.
Right.
Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, yeah. That's not the clip.
There's a billion African people on the face of this earth. Why are you buying third-rate junk from third-rate people thinking you can't make it? Why don't you at least make a safety pin and hold your child's diaper together? Who has programmed your mind into thinking you can't make a car? The first man that made a car, they had never seen one previously. The Japanese bought cars, bought locomotives, broke them down and studied them, and had a Japanese technician produce each piece, put it together, and had a much better train than the one they copied from. All knowledge in the world belongs to everybody in the world. Yes. Who has programmed our mind in assuming that we cannot run a nation and run it well?
Hey man, shifting from being consumers and workers to producers, managers, owners. Shifting our mindset. It's because in this lecture, go watch the full lecture. In the full lecture, he's talking about, because that's when he goes in talking about the Japanese being able to get the train, break the train down, study it, put it back together, and improve on it. That he's giving that example because he's talking about the Japanese, and he's talking about the Japanese doing this after the atom bombs were dropped on them. So we're talking about a nation of people that had to rebuild from scratch. Now, we have the ability to rebuild from scratch. If there's one trait that we know African people throughout the world have, is resiliency. We are resilient than a mug. We are real resilient, but we have to take it a step further than resilience. We are exceptionally brilliant people as well. We're exceptionally brilliant, but we have to control our brilliance. We have to be in control of how we live. We have to produce. We have to create infrastructures for ourselves. We just have to create industries. We have to create corporations. We have to control wealth. We have to control resources. We have to do that for ourselves. We got to stop sending our best talent outside of the community. We have to nurture and preserve our community. If you got a 16-year-old genius boy, don't send him to no white college. If he does go to the white college, you need to have a specific mission to go get specific information to bring that back. Because the spook that's set by the door element is still in there. So I'm not totally against it if we have a plan to bring it back. But we don't have plans to bring it back. But I love what he's getting at. We don't have to sit back and just be all right, white people, y'all in control. We're just gonna sit here and we're just gonna ride off y'all wave. Because if the power go out, what we gonna do? If the infrastructure shuts down, what are we gonna do? Because we're gonna be in trouble. We already say when America gets a cold, black people get the flu. Why is that? Why is that? Because we're dependent upon them. What he's saying, we don't have to be dependent upon these people like that. We have all the knowledge. We have more knowledge, more resources, more access to stuff than any point. We have more now than when he was talking about at this time when he did this lecture. We have more access to more information, resources, and money and stuff now. we're choosing to just be on cruise control. We're choosing to just be a part of America rather than to do what we need to do for ourselves to build on. We constantly talk about the Chinatowns and the different towns that we see other ethnic groups of people build. What the hell is stopping us from doing that?
Well,
We
we go ahead.
I'm just gonna say we keep giving we love to give examples of how other people come together and work together. And granted, understand we the PTSS, but if we can recognize what other people are doing and we can recognize our PTSS, then that means we have a logical and a clear enough mind to understand, hey, we can do something different. Let's do it different.
But I don't think we do recognize PTSS.
But not most of us don't. But I'm talking
Yeah.
about for those who be
No,
talking
I
about it,
get,
those who
yeah, I
do.
get what you're saying, but I do think because China's doing the same thing right now. American businesses all over the world, they want to get into China because it's the second largest market on the planet. But they're also terrified of getting into China because they know that when you go into China with your product, the Chinese government tends to
They
take
gonna
your
take it.
product, copy it, and then
Every-
produce a state-run business that does your product
Yep.
in their market and
Yep.
out competes you.
Yep.
They're doing it right now. Like so,
Bootleg kings and queens.
right, right. It's not the Nigerians, people. It's
It's the
not.
Chinese.
So, but but that's but I agree with it though. Nowadays, I think we have to use the information to go deeper. Like nowadays, you look at the core resources. Those of us in the black tech nerd space, we knew years and years and years ago that there was a silicon shortage because in the tech spaces they were talking about how there was a shortage of silicon. So when COVID happened, I think about this to myself all the time. Why weren't we able, as black tech geeks and nerds, to gather together the resources back when we knew there was a shortage to build a factory, a plant that produced tech, that produced silicon chips, the mandatory components for all of our electrical gadgets? Now, we all know the big part of that problem is not necessarily the know-how for how to produce the products, it's the funding and the resources required to get up and running. It takes a couple $100 million to get one of those plants up and going, not to mention years and years and years of development and resources. But that's where it comes back to, if black people could work together,
We can put
there
it up,
would
put
be
our
a
money together.
right, there would be a channel where the geeks and the squares and the lamos that love this tech shit that other black people just want to use and don't care about, they would be able to reach those entertainers and influencers with resources to be able to do those things
But
instead of go ahead.
even if it's not entertainers, just people, black people with resources, being able to tap black people because there are black people we don't even know about
Right,
that's
right,
out
right,
here
right, right.
doing amazing things. But but accentuating what you were saying, tap into the resources that are in our community to be able to use that to produce more for our community.
And I'll say it's not that we didn't try. Like there were a number of, and I don't think we were the only group. I think there were several groups that were trying. Just couldn't get connected to resources. I was also a part of a project of people that actually were trying to create a black run internet browser, something where we could scroll the internet, search the internet, have access to the world's information from a black space.
Hey, we can make this simple. Black folk won't even leave Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok for black owned and created social media apps.
What that was yeah, go ahead.
But because right now, the buddy, the big YouTube, the black YouTube buddy that's complaining about YouTube being racist. we could
Oh,
create.
yeah.
Hey, he got enough subscribers, and I know he know enough cats with enough subscribers. The money can be put together, create your own. But and when things are created by our own, we don't support them. But we complain when we don't have them, but when we get it, we don't support it.
Yeah, and that was essentially the death of the Black Internet Explorer. Is that we realized that people weren't going to leave Google, Bing, Yahoo, and all these other things because I have created Black social media outlets by myself, and I've been a part of a team of people that have created Black social media outlets. Every single time we get involved in trying to do something like that, it dies. Not because it's not created and not because it doesn't function. It functions. We use one of them as a private chat messenger now. We still use it to talk to each other. It's because people won't leave the
Hey,
plantation.
if look right, Black people have an affinity for all things white. Most Black people won't admit it, but Black people have an affinity for all things white. That's why Black people have a need to be in white spaces, have a need to have white brands, white names, and won't leave this white stuff alone. They will not leave it alone. The luxurious lifestyle, so-called, the idea of making it is living like white people. And white people don't even like you and want you in their spaces.
That's the European brain.
Hey,
Though. That's what it
hey,
is.
we have to build with each other. We have to. Our homework assignment for this video is going your dead serious, dead serious. Go into your community and get to know everybody in your community and start building positive, healthy relationships with the people in your community. That's your homework.
And if you live in a community surrounded by white people,
Go
find
find
some
Black
Black
people.
people to talk
Go
to.
find Black people. That's your homework. And with that being said, I'm Joseph Ward. He's Patrick Irvin. Give it up to the great Dr. Clarke and all of our master teachers that we were able to break down. Y'all catch this next video. We love y'all.